Hey guys and girls, thank you very much for joining me again today. There's been a lot of exciting news and announcements both from Nikon and various other manufacturers. I've recently made some new purchases. Actually, it's like more of repeat purchases that I've had before. I've bought and sold and bought, and I've ended up with a little bit of a different package. So I just thought I'd share you through my decisions with that and why. There's some exciting themes and little tips and tricks I'd like to show you, particularly with diffusing lighting and various lens choices and their applications. So let me start off first with my various buying and selling things so you know where I'm at with what I'm filming with and taking photos with. So what I've done recently is I've been filming a lot of my YouTube videos with the ZFC, and it's been a great unit for doing that with a flip out screen and the good 4K quality, excellent autofocus that it has inbuilt. I've been very happy with its performance. However, one thing I did find frustrating about having an APS-C camera was that when I was swapping lenses from my Nikon Z9 over to this APS-C camera, there was always a mathematical equation needing developing, you know? So you'd have, for example, let's say you've got these two lenses here. I've got a 24 and a 35. I go put the 24 on the APS-C camera and it ends up looking like a 35 composition. I put the 35 on and then it looks like a 50mm composition on full frame. And then I put that 35 on my full frame camera and it is 35. And there was a lot of to and froing with composition, and that was just to drive me a little bit bonkers. The other thing was lens choices. So by having not the APS-C camera as much, but by having a very pretty retro style camera, I was finding I was a bit prejudiced to buying lenses that all looked like they were retro and accessories that were retro, and to sort of create that theme and that look. And although it was cosmetically very appealing and enjoyable, the problem was it was dominating what lens I could have and what I couldn't, and it was getting a bit inconvenient. So I've decided to ditch the retro styling thing. I'm sort of over that now. It was a lovely idea in the time and I enjoyed it for several years, but I've moved on from that, and I've just decided to go with full frame cameras. And also I like the similar format. So I don't want the button layout and the ergonomics to be completely contrary to each other. So even if I got a full frame ZF, it would still have that entire composition and format with the buttons that were different to my Z9. And going from one camera to the next to go back to the other camera, that was quite confusing and a bit distracting, to be honest with you. So as attractive as they look, I've just changed my mind and decided I'd stick with more modern composition cameras. And so what did I do? Well, I sold that ZFC. I sold it for around $1,000 Australian, a little kit I put together of retro stuff. And then I went and purchased this camera here, which is the Z6. Now, it's not the Z6 Mark III, this is the Z6 Mark II, and I've owned this previously before. And as a B camera, a B shooter, as a backup camera and a holiday travel camera, this is an excellent unit to use for things like a YouTube video where you're pretty much stationary anyway, and or traveling where you want something light and compact. So the Z6 format is very small and light and far more sits into a camera bag than my Z9 ever did. So I'm very happy with that, to have now a full frame camera that has all the features that I need, up to 4K 60 video. It has a very reasonable autofocus with all new firmware upgrades, and of course it has the rugged features and weather sealing of a full frame Z6 camera. So I'm very happy with that purchase, and I just want to let you know that that's what I've done, swapped the ZFC for a Z6 II. Now, why didn't I get the Z6 Mark III? Well, there were several reasons for that. One is there were no features in the Z6 III that I don't have in the Z9. I'm actually filming with the Z9 right now, simply because I wanted to demonstrate the Z6. Now, this Z6 II will be my primary YouTube video camera and a very useful, versatile B-roll camera as well, for almost every purpose, including video. I've tested the video functionality out and it is very capable. Unless you're doing super high speed sports action, which I'm going to of course use the Z9 for general purpose photo and video, it actually performs extremely well. And it isn't my main camera, so as a backup camera it's great. So I highly recommend it. Now, how much did I pay for this? I paid $1,100. And it's a little bit of an interesting anecdote and story, so I'll just run you through it very briefly. But I sold the ZFC because I wanted a full frame camera. I saw one on eBay. There was a Z6 there in almost pristine condition, only had a shutter count of 2,800 actuation, so it was very new indeed and looked brilliant. When I got it in the box for the $999 I paid for it, it looked like it was just out of the showroom. So I was very pleased with its performance and its look, and it was functioning very well. I was missing a few features that I would have liked in a more modern camera, but I was going to suck it up and make do just because it is a B-roll camera. However, a week later on eBay, I'm just surfing and mucking around looking at lenses and cameras, and I come across this one here, the Z6 Mark II now, with all the added features of the next generation model. And its price was $1,200. So it was only a couple of hundred more. And the seller was actually providing a coupon for a $100 discount. So I ended up getting it for $1,100, which was only $100 more than the Z6 One. So I promptly sold the Z6 One, as good as it was, and purchased the Z6 II for its updated features. So I thought that was a real bargain for me, $1,100, and I get a Z6 II with those features. I've updated the firmware, of course. Bought a second battery just to make sure I had the correct battery that I could swap over quickly. And yeah, it was I think it was a good upgrade for $100. I thought those were all bargain. So a Z6 III is going to cost me $3,500 to $4,000. That's quite a bit of money to outlay for a backup camera. This one here, just over $1,000, and I have all the features I need to perform YouTube videos, photos, holiday and travel activities. Peace of mind, knowing that if it does get lost, broken or stolen on the fly when I'm traveling around, it's not devastating. I can afford maybe to lose $1,000. I don't want to lose about $8,000 on the Z9. So it's a handy travel secondary camera to bring around with you when you're not doing critical professional work. And if you are doing critical professional work, it's great as a B-roll camera. So that's why I purchased it. I just sort of run you through that system. Now, another thing I've chopped and changed is with lenses. Recently, I did a video on the 20mm Viltrox lens. It's a little compact kit button style lens. I thought it was fantastic, very sharp and very versatile. 2.8 aperture was quite nice. But what I've done is I've gone and now sold that one again as well. I bought it for a couple $100. I sold it for a couple $100. And I've repurchased something I sold, which was this Viltrox lens, this Viltrox 16mm f1.8. And I've purchased it because it was just so damn good. I sold it thinking that little compact lens would do me at 20mm and it'd be sufficient, but I just found it wasn't quite wide enough for a lot of applications. I mean, I already have a 24mm lens that's 1.8, so having a 20 which wasn't a significant enough difference. So the 16 is significantly enough. It's 50% wider, and you really notice that when you're taking landscape or group photos. So I've decided to repurchase this lens, and I'm very happy with the fact that I have. I got it for just over $600, which is a bargain second hand. They're about $850 brand new, thereabouts. So I got a reasonable discount, and I feel like I've got myself a real bargain here because it's in pristine condition. So more will be said about this lens and more sample photos later. I've already done a video on the original one I purchased and then sold. I purchased it back again, and that's something I want to talk to you about too, and that is the fact that you can, of course, sell and buy again and buy and sell again, and that's how you make your photography interesting. If you've always got the same package, let's say, for example, you had one camera, a Z6 II, and then you had a 24-70 f4 lens. Now that's a great combination for functionality as a kit. It's inexpensive and it's a brilliant versatility. But here's the thing, it can be a little bit boring. What can happen is if you've got just the same camera and the same lens all the time, you sort of lose your motivation and excitement because nothing new is coming into the picture. You're sort of not experimenting. So by buying and selling lenses, buying and selling camera bodies, and not losing much money therefore doing so, if you're careful with your transactions, you actually get the excitement of always a new and different product, and it changes your mentality and scope, and you start thinking outside the box and trying things new that you may not have tried had you had just one kit arrangement. So it's not so much a luxury of unlimited funds and budget, it's more about you buy and you sell, and you buy and you sell within a range of financing that's appropriate for you without getting yourself in ridiculous debt and trouble financially. So just changing up the lens and camera combination I think is a great idea to expand your mind and your horizons. So I'm encouraging that. Now on the front of new releases, for example, we've had many new releases. We've had a few lenses from Nikon, we've had a few lenses from Sony and Canon that are very exciting. One new package that's very exciting at the moment is the release of the new Sony camera. Now, it's not a Nikon unit, but I'm going to give it some respect. They've got a new, the Sony A7 Mark V now. And that's great. I mean, I really like the idea of the fact it's got more megapixels than the Z6. So even the Z6 III has 24, which is more than adequate. This new one has 33, and that's a great balanced combination of megapixels. Think about it, right in between 24 and 45 is 33. If I could have 33 megapixels in my Z6 Mark III or whatever, I'd love to have that. I'd actually prefer the more megapixels than I would this partially stacked sensor. I don't think that really helps dramatically in much of anything. I think a fully stacked sensor would have been very dramatic and exciting. I think if they had the 24 megapixel sensor in the Z6 III and it was fully stacked, that could have been really exciting in performance. But just having partially stacked and retaining the 24 megapixels, I thought that was a little bit of a boring choice. And I think that also contributed to me not wanting to buy that as a secondary camera. So maybe we'll be lucky and the next generation will have 33 megapixels and maybe a fully stacked sensor. Who knows? Who knows what they'll do in years to come, but that's quite a few years away, so I'm not holding my breath. But at the moment, I'm very happy with my Z6 II as a backup camera. It's fantastic and a great camera to carry around with you. I was having a lot of trouble with the Z9, I got to tell you. I'm actually sort of weighing up in the balance whether I sell the Z9 because it's so big and heavy. Is it functional? Yes. Does it do everything you could imagine? Yes. Is it robust and weather sealed? Absolutely. But sometimes it's just so heavy and big to put in a camera bag. You've got to separate the lenses every time you want to transport it around because it's so bulky. I just found that very awkward. So I might look at selling that and getting a Z8 just to get something downsized a little bit lighter and a little bit more compact for portableness and putting in camera bags. I don't know what you think about that, but that's probably where I'll go. I'm more than willing to make some minor compromises on the various little differences in order to have that convenience of weight and portability. So we'll see what happens with that in time. I was talking about the Sony lens camera, for example. I thought that was a great package. They got a lot of great features in that. Some things that they might be lacking a little bit in. But look, all in all, you know, I love to see anything new coming from any manufacturer because you know what it does? It excites the game. It means now that other manufacturers, whether it be Canon or Nikon, got to look at this new release and say, wow, maybe we have to lift our game a little bit and improve this and improve that. And it helps that competition thing coming up. So I'm always excited. We had the release of the Canon camera, the D6 Mark III. Brilliant, great. It's got wonderful features, great autofocus, excellent sensor. So I'm very happy that these manufacturers keep putting out new products because that just makes everybody on the benchmark a bit nervous and lifting their performance a little bit better in the future. So when we were talking about new releases and getting back to the Nikon theme of things, we know recently that Nikon have released the 24 to 70 Mark II, and that's a bit lighter and a bit more compact. And a little bit sharper, they tell me, but bottom line all of the fact that it's a bit smaller and more compact and very, very versatile to have in your camera bag. You could pretty much leave that on the camera all the time and that'd be a great little unit. I'm very excited about that lens. I'd love to obtain one, but I must admit at $4,000 plus, it's a little bit pricey at the moment. I'm just, not sure I'd want to extend that sort of money when I have all that range covered in my primes anyway. And of course, apart from the primes, I have this 35 to 150 starts at f2. I mean, that's a great versatile lens too, just not quite wide enough. And that's of course why I bought such things as the 16mm. So I do have a wider aperture, and I have 24mm Viltrox lens here as well, 1.8. So I've got the full range of focal lengths should I need them. It's just not all in one lens. And wouldn't that be a dream if you could only have one lens that does everything? And of course, there has been a one lens that does everything if you like this, like a 24 to 200 or a 24 to 120. I mean, these are great options. The only problem is the aperture tends to get a bit darker than I would have liked. So it sort of has a good focal range, but they don't necessarily have a great aperture range. And so to get that combination of aperture and focal range in one lens is near impossible really for any one lens. But you can certainly get some nice lightweight, inexpensive lenses and fill that range out. And that's sort of the way I've gone. So what have we got here? Well, let's have a look. On this camera now, I've got the 16mm lens, for example. And then here I have the, let's have a look, that's the 24 here. So we've got 16, we've got 24mm, I've got 35mm, I've got, of course, an 85mm, but then I've also got this range here of the 35 to 150. So what I have is an extensive range of lenses, so I'm not missing out in any way. I don't really need a 24 to 70, but I do say that I like the idea of that new Mark II version. I think that's a great looking lens. I think it's wonderful that they're able to reduce the weight and the overall size, and even the filter size is smaller now, so that makes everything much more convenient. So 2 thumbs up for Nikon for that. So just let me remove these from the table so I'm not blocking the view there. Just discreetly put them aside. I will say I'm very excited about my range of Viltrox lenses, I'll be honest with you, because they're so inexpensive. So whether Nikon lenses are sharper or not, I agree that they are generally, and they're probably a better build quality and weather resistance. However, for the fact that they're less than half the price each, I just can't find that I can resist the temptation of getting them. And this is, of course, I was just talking about this Viltrox 16mm. To have able to purchase something like this for $600 or $700 and have a 16mm 1.8, well, Nikon don't even produce anything equivalently to exchange to a Nikon lens. They do have the 20mm 1.8, which is a great lens, and I've owned it before, but the difficulty with that is it's not quite wide enough, and that's what I did find. 20 was a great focal length. It certainly reduced the distortion that you would get from a 16mm, but it just wasn't wide enough, and I was always wishing or lusting after something a bit wider. So having the widest aperture that I'll ever require anyway, 16mm is very wide, and certainly more than enough for me, and then being able to jump to a 24 if I need something a bit tighter in, that works great for me, and particularly useful, I think, for Steadicam work. So if you're using Steadicam work, or you've got a handheld rig and you want to travel around and move, 16mm gives you a great composition for what's going on in the story. And at the same time, of course, you can, of course, come in closer if you've got a Steadicam or handheld, and you can come up backwards if you want to get a bit of a broader shot. I can always swap into a 24 or a 35 too, if that's the sort of focal length and composition I need. But keeping things lightweight is really good. And I was just going to talk to you about that because I've got this camera cage here, which I can put on this Z6 in a moment's notice. And what that does is enables me then to grip onto the battery grip. I have a handle here, and then when the cage is on the Z6 now, I can handheld that around and find that very comfortable and convenient to do handheld video. I've got image stabilization now, which I didn't have with the ZFC. So the image stabilization is another big bonus for having nice smooth video. And whether I'm using this on a gimbal or a monopod, or I'm hand holding, I now can guarantee myself nice, stable and a beautiful smooth video, and I'm very pleased with it. Now this little rig here, I really like this. This is a great little cage, and what this enables me to do is quickly put on a handle as well. So you can buy these little handles. I think they're magnificent. I'll just illustrate it for you now. Just take it off quickly. And that's the cage itself. It has a little adapter here for the grip, and then you can put it on left or right, or you can buy two of them and have left and right handles if you want, which I always have the option of. But these little handles from Small Rig, for example, are relatively inexpensive, and when it does come to having a comfortable grip and a steady hold and confidence in your video, these are a magnificent little unit. They go on and off very, very quickly, as you can see there, just a couple of turns of a screw, and once you've tightened them in, they're very stable. So I'm just highly recommending a cage for video. Gives you all those options of mounting positions, as you can see. I'll show you more photos of that later, and I think they're a brilliant idea. So get yourself a camera cage if you've got a Z6 or Z7 Mark II or 1, and you'll have a great time with those, because it adds a little bit more robustness to the camera too. If it gets knocked around or whatever, you're knocking the cage around, you're not knocking the camera body around. That's already a bonus, and being these cameras are quite small and light, it's not intrusive to have it on the camera at all. I have now the L bracket, which does the same sort of thing, gives me a mounting point, Arco Swiss. I can go either way. This is a Small Rig version, and it does have a brilliant little modification. There is a slight change to the one in the past, where the actual L bracket part that comes out the side here has been altered a little bit in the design, and the latest version of this is really cool because it's much more rigid. In the past, when you would mount it on your monopod or mount it on your tripod, this bracket could wobble a little bit. It wasn't a very good structure underneath here. They've rethought that and reinvented it. Now the new Small Rig L bracket is a lot more sturdy and doesn't jiggle around, so it won't affect your long exposure photos as it may have done in the past. So thumbs up for Small Rig for correcting that little fault and making it a much more better investment that you can be confident in. So what I'd like to do is move on from these camera and lenses and talk to you about the B part of the video, and that's going to be lighting and diffusion. And I think this is really exciting. So let's just have a look at that. So I've been one to advocate lighting and the benefits of beautiful diffused lighting, and whether it be photos or videos, for a long time. And I've made a lot of compromise, sacrifice and hard work to bring good lighting to a professional gig to make sure it does look very nice and soft. So when it comes to video, for example, which I'm doing a video right now, I have 3 of these panels, and I'll just illustrate them here. Okay, so what are they? They're amateur Aperon 672 LED light panels. And what I've got here is a diffusion over the front of it. Now, what's this diffusion from? They actually provide a diffusion panel, but it's actually pretty soft and lame. So I've made up my own. So how do I make up all these diffusion panels? Well, I purchased online. You can buy this material. And what you can do is you can double it up. If you want extra strength in your diffusion, you can have a singularly where it's a little bit lighter on. And I bought, they're the 1mm versions, by the way, 1mm, and I'll give you a link up to them at the screen. This is the one I actually prefer. So this is the 2mm thick version. Now you can see here, if you look at them, there's one is a lot stronger in diffusion than the other. Particularly so if I put my hand up, you'll see it's a lot softer on one side and a lot weaker on the other. That's the 1mm. This is the 2mm thickness. The 2mm thickness is brilliant as far as I'm concerned because it gives a great diffusion. But apart from the fact it diffuses a light well, it's really robust. Like, it's super strong. So that when you put this in front of your LED panels, there's no way you're damaging the LEDs. They're very strong. So it's giving it a good protective coating for a start, but secondly, a great diffusion. And all I do is simply, they come in a larger size, like an A4 size. So what I do is I cut them out to fit the pattern, use a little bit of double-sided tape just to make sure they don't fall out or slide out. And that gives you the great diffusion that you could ever want. So I think it's an amazing rig and I'm really liking it. I can just sort of illustrate this very quickly, I think. Let me just see if I can get this to operate fast. There we go, look at that. So, here we go. We've got it on diffused lighting there. That's going to be crazy bright. I'm sorry about that. Try to get it down as soft as I can, but it's just going to make a mess of things because it's very bright and the video is not going to like showing you that. But the point is it does function very well and gives a nice diffusion and protective barrier. So I have multiple uses for this, and for example I own multiple of these little LED lights. This is a 1 aperture Aperon again, but it's the 198 I think it is LED light panel, and it's a great little unit. As you can see I have one there with some diffusion on, but here I have a kit of 4. So here is 4 put together, and they are designed as a modular system where you can add one on top of another, make 2, you can have 3, 4, whatever you want to do, up to 6 I suppose if you wanted to. But this one here has got 4, and what I've done is I've got one large diffusion panel in the front that I'd purchased, one of these items here, and cut it out to size and fitted that on with a bit of double-sided tape just to make sure it doesn't move around. And now, by the use of the Sony batteries, and or if I wanted to, and this is sort of an interesting thing, see if I can get this open because I should use 2 hands. It does take AA batteries as well, so I just thought I'd show you that these units open up a little flap. You've got access to AA batteries. You can put 6 AA batteries in there and keep everything very smooth, very flush and easy to transport and compact, or you can just of course whack the batteries on the back and operate them that way, the big Sony batteries. But anyway, I find that very good. I love the idea of the diffusion, the protection for the front, and the fact that it's all uniform. And when you actually put that on, it keeps everything very robust and together. So these modular systems are actually quite brilliant. They're very reliable, and this is what I want to tell you. When you put the batteries in these and they run continuously without flickering, without playing up, without disappointing you for a very long time. So you can run for several hours just with the AA batteries, and or you can use these Sony batteries I was illustrating here in them, and they will be very reliable. So on the go, when you're in transport and you don't have mains power available, you're out in the field somewhere, something like this is actually a brilliant little unit you can take. It's relatively inexpensive, simple to put together. I've just got a simple little bracket, a bit of L-frame material there that I got from the hardware shop, and bolted them together in order to make that a kit. So consider something like that as a great option for safe lighting that is very reliable. Right, so these diffusion panels I found extremely handy, and I'd just like to verify yet again that it's a great idea to have some safe and protective diffusion for any of your LED lighting. So I highly recommend those. Now, apart from that sort of lighting, there is a more professional one you can buy. And those aperture Aperon lights, there's nothing wrong with them. They're quite capable. However, if you want to go the next step up, I can highly recommend these Dracast lights. This is a Dracast, I think it's called a 500. It's got about 430 LED light beads. It's in the 500 class, so that's what they call it that. You can buy a 1000 one as well, which is of course twice the volume. Now I found the 500 more than enough because this is what I need for transportation and portability. So if I want a very big light panel, I have a massive light panel. I have a big 180 watt, what is it, 2 foot by 2 foot panel that's extremely beautifully diffused and powerful if I need that. But the problem is it weighs about 7 kilos and it's huge. So it's very hard to transport around on the go. So something like this is a more portable, lightweight system, has its own little yoke, as you can see, to make it adjustable completely and mountable on any tripod and or light stand. It has fully adjustability with the temperature control, on-off switch fuses and mains power should you have that available. Now I didn't buy this for mains power at all. The beauty of this unit and what I find most attractive about it, other than its compactness and weight, which is very, very doable, weighs about 1 kilo or something, is this beauty idea. And the beautiful thing is I have several of these V-mount batteries. Now V-mount batteries are the very professional main battery source that you use on the go for video, where you want something 100% reliable and will last a long time. Now I have several of these. You can buy them in various sizes. This is actually quite a chunky brick size, but I find it does last several hours. And what I can do with this one here is I can simply mount it to this unit, and once it's mounts in, of course it's very safe and it's very secure. You can separate it, so for transport it doesn't have to be a big brick on the light all the time. You just put it on when you want to use it, and then of course as you want to use the light, there you go, you've got light and you've got fully adjustability, so you can adjust it however strong, bright, warmth, whatever you want to do. So anyway, just sort of illustrate this light for you. I highly recommend it. I think it's a brilliant design and a great unit. I always love the fact that they have these nice safe features of getting the battery on and off. So when you want to get the battery off, it comes off when you want it to, but it's locked on with a pin so it doesn't just fall off the worst possible time for you, especially when transporting it around from one place to another. So anyway, this is, again, it's the Dracast. It's about the 500, color correctable, and I think this is actually a brilliant little unit. As you can see, I put in a diffused panel in front. It didn't actually come with a diffused panel when I bought it. I bought it second hand from the United States. I got it so cheap. I think it was like $200 or something. Normally $500. I got it for like $200 US. So I was very, very happy with this product. I've made a little diffusion panel again for it to make it soft and protect the LED beads, and I'm very happy I did buy it. So I'm just highly recommending the right lighting for the right situation, and I found that one to be quite brilliant. There is something I'll show you regarding lighting that I didn't think was, I'm going to say it wasn't as brilliant as it could have been, but it's actually not too bad. So it's like horses for courses. Everything has its own place in the universe. And this is a funny little story. I always like to give you funny anecdotes when I got something funny to say. I went and tried to purchase one of these lights here from the United States. Now I bought actually this one, and that was fine. I bought it, it was like $100 or whatever, and I was very happy with the purchase. It functions great and looks terrific. It was as if brand new really, so I'm very happy. I wanted to buy a second one, so I went to a different supplier, different retailer, and I ordered this amongst all their catalogue of various different stuff they had. What actually arrived was not one of those at all, even though that's what I clicked on. They gave me this thing, which is an aperture Araman, but it's the halo light. It's for, basically it's for macro use, and you can use it as a video light too. So I'm just going to set it up. It'll take me a few seconds and I'll show you what it's all about and how it works. So just give me a few seconds to put this together. So guys, I've got the camera with it's got a 35mm lens on it, a Viltrox lens, because that's what I use a lot of. It comes with a kit of these various little adapters. So these adapters will go from what is the standard fit on the light to any sort of lens diameter you have. These ones happen to be 55 that I'm using right now, but these things go up to everything from 42 to about 72mm lens. So that's a great versatile thing that they give you, those adapters. They're a little bit fiddly, but it works, you know. If you know what lenses you're going to use, you can have them all ready to go, I suppose. Right now I have the adapter on the lens right now. Just screws on like a normal filter does. So it's quite a simple arrangement. Now this light, this halo light, comes with a battery pack. So that's your battery pack and your on-off switches and adjustments and so on. And that simply just screws onto your hot shoe of your camera. So you can put it on the hot shoe, just screw it down so it doesn't fall off when you least want it to. And what can happen here, it's on a cord of course, and it's powered, and it has two little buttons either side. So if you press in those buttons, you can then mount it to the lens adapter, and there you have now a light on the end of your lens. So what's this for? Well, this is obviously going to be for your macro use. So you can see here it's fully functional. You can get a good bright light. You've got various adjustments in what strength you want. Adjust it how you want. You've also got a flash option too. So if you want to use it for like a flash, you can do that, and you can take flash with it. I tend to use it mostly for the video format because I think that's the best item for me. So I love it for video. You can of course adjust the strength, maximum down to minimum, and that's very useful for your macro photography if you want it such. It's also good for just general photography. There are times when you want to take a photo, you don't need a big lot of elaborate gear, you just need that little bit of extra punch of light on your subject in order to get a clean and clear image, and this will of course do that. Now I'm just sort of suggesting that I'm making the most of it because I got it for nothing anyway. They sent me the wrong item, so I was able to keep it for free. That was their fault. So anyway, I'm making use of it, and I think it's quite versatile in its own right. So I just want to show you it in operation. It will work for macro, of course, perfectly. If you want to use this for photos or video, of course, in general, you can. I would actually recommend, from my point of view, that if you're going to use it for doing photos in general, rather than macro, you take the battery unit off, forget this here. You can mount it to the battery pack, and then when you put it on, as I have here, there you go. You can use it like a speed light or a little flash, and therefore you've got all that luxury of, again, you've got your flash option if you want it, and you've got a video light too, just to add some extra lighting to your scenario. So I think it's pretty cool. It's something. It's better than nothing. It's a bit of light to have around. It's very light and portable, weighs next to nothing, just requires 4 AA batteries in order to run it. So I think that's a pretty cool system. And if you wanted to get something like that as a versatile, cheap light system, yeah, I can recommend it. It's okay. For me, it's not really where I wanted to go, but it's nice to have it in the kit just in case I need some lighting on the fly. So in conclusion, guys, I just wanted to say that I was very excited about having the Z6 Mark II again back in my kit in my hands. I think it's very great value for money. If you could pick one up like I did for less than $1,200, you've really got yourself a bargain because it's a very capable camera. I had this as my exclusive camera with the Z7 II as well for several years and was quite happy with it, just not as my primary camera, I think. So I have the Z9, or if you have a Z8 or a Z6 III, that's fantastic as your primary camera, but the Z6 II now is so affordable. I reckon it's a great budget buy for a second shooter camera. And this Viltrox lens that I've been illustrating today very briefly, the 16mm 1.8 prime is a brilliant lens for astrophotography, for your landscapes, your wides, your group shots. I think it's a great item for $600, $700, $800 to be able to have something super wide and super bright like that. There's no other option on the market. Now Viltrox have produced a 14mm lens, so they've got a 14mm, but it's an f4, and they have an APS-C equivalent, which is a 9mm. So that's a fantastic option for someone on a super budget. You don't want to spend more than maybe $300 on a wide. You can get that 14mm equivalent full frame lens, but because it's f4, for me that's not really particularly interesting, because I do like to do some astrophotography, and if it's in a dark environment, if I'm doing some sort of a let's say real estate photography, doing a splendid panorama of, say, a massive castle or something like that, and the lighting is low, maybe it's in the evening, it's nice to have that bright aperture. So anyway, I'm just letting you know that I'm happy with my purchases. I bought them, I've sold them, I bought them back again, and that's the lesson that I want you to go home with today, that you don't have to have a final commitment. Just because you buy something, it doesn't mean you're stuck with it. That's the beauty of things such as eBay. So even though I'm very excited with my new purchases, and that's when I say new, I'm being sarcastic because it's new, I'll purchase them, I'll sold them, I'll purchase them back again, and that's the beauty of buying and selling. You can do that. You're not committing to anything. Most Nikon related stuff that I've found anyway, I can buy and sell it within a week. So you're not committed. So if you try something out and you don't like it, just sell it and buy something else and try a new item, maybe a different brand or maybe a different configuration, and it might be more exciting for you. So don't feel committed. Be happy to buy and sell. I do it all the time. I must have bought and sold 100 different camera or lenses combinations, and I'm very excited to keep reinvigorating my system. And I encourage you to do the same. It stops it being stale and gives you an opportunity to think out of the box. So if you go away with nothing else today, go away with that, and I hope you have a wonderful photography experience over the next several months until I see you again. Thank you.